Hello, and welcome to today's web seminar, Benefits and Best Practices of Continuous Testing in the Cloud, sponsored by Perfecto by Perforce and featuring Eran Kinsbruner, Chief Evangelist and author at Perfecto by Perforce. I'm your host and moderator today, Sarah Crocker. Before we begin our presentation, I'd like to just explain the console. The panels on your screen can be moved around and resized to your liking. At the bottom of your console is a widget toolbar. By clicking the handout widget in the middle, you can download a PDF of the speaker slide, as well as some other resources provided. If you experience any technical issues, please let us know by typing in the Q&A panel on the left. This is also where you will submit questions for the speaker. There will be a Q&A session at the end, so feel free to enter your questions throughout the presentation, and those will be answered at the end, time permitting. To optimize your bandwidth for the best viewing experience, please close any other applications you have running in the background. This event is being recorded and will be made available to watch on demand. Once the recording is ready, you will get an email with instructions about how to access the presentation. And with that, I'd like to hand it over to our speaker.
Thank you. Thank you, Sarah, and thank you, everyone. Welcome to today's webinar. And we have tried to make this webinar and the content as much relevant as possible to the current digital reality which we are experiencing over the past few years. So today I'm going to touch on the benefits and best practices of continuous testing in the cloud, what to look at when you are continuously validating new software builds, mobile, web, or others, and how the cloud can actually help you in these times to ease the pain, to solve some of the challenges, and move forward much faster. As mentioned by Sarah, my name is Eran Kinsbruner. I am the Chief Evangelist, author, and also a product manager at Perfecto, which is a Perforce company. Over 20 years in the space of development and testing. Available on most social channels, LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, everything. So if you're not following me and you want to continue the conversation after the webinar, feel free to do so. And with that, let's dive into this today's webinar agenda. Starting with giving an overview. While we are in kind of a remote testing reality, the mobile and web market are continuously shifting and changing. So I would like to start the webinar by setting the stage where we are from a mobile and web perspective, because it's quite important to your own testing coverage considerations and even future plannings for your testing. I will talk about the key benefits of testing in the cloud, also sharing some of what my clients are telling me, what they are mostly benefiting when doing testing in the cloud. So this is kind of what are the best practices to focus on when, if you're not already doing testing in the cloud, what you should be looking out for. And I will talk a bit about how to scale your testing for web and mobile with Perfecto, and do at the end of this webinar a very short demo of the Perfecto cloud, just so we bring everything that I'm talking about in this webinar to life. So let's start with the digital landscape today. Everyone is obviously working from remote. I've been hearing from some of our clients that a lot of the platforms, whether they were smartphones and tablets, were simply left behind on the desk in the offices, which are currently closed, making the testing quite either impossible or very challenging, especially when you want to update these platforms. It's quite difficult to do so from remote. But on the other hand, you do have more pressure today to ensure that all of your digital channels, digital platforms are operating as much as possible, not just from a functional perspective, but also from a performance standpoint. All of your web applications, mobile, are only consumed today from remote, either through tablets, smartphones, or desktop. So they all need to function and look pretty good on top of all the different screen sizes and resolutions, and this is even more important than ever before. Before I give you my take on the implications and what today's reality means, let's start by launching this short poll to understand from you guys online whether you were impacted by today's remote testing reality. Did it impact your own continuous testing processes, or still impacting your continuous testing processes? And I already see that some of you are starting to vote, so I thank you for the participation. I see a struggle between two main implications. So the top one is most of the test automation is being implemented for faster feedback on quality. So that was the third option. This is the leading right now, with the fourth one that says that actually there is no impact on continuous testing. This is really interesting for me to understand why or how come. So I'll be happy to learn more during this webinar as well. How come there is no impact? But from what we are hearing, from what I'm hearing from my clients, there are significant implications of COVID and the remote working from home reality on testing activities. So I think that we can close the poll for now and actually share the results if possible, showing that there is actually a nice diversity between the different answers, the different options. But the majority of the votes are for number 3. More test automation is being requested to expedite the feedback to the developers per each code change or per each commit. So that's, I would say, not surprising and quite interesting. This is how all of you voted. So you can see that the majority voted for number 3 about the test automation, and the other options were kind of split between the different challenges or implications. Let's continue with the landscape and how it looks like today. So what we are seeing from a mobile standpoint, we are seeing still a diversity of the Android platform. We are just, I would say, a month away from the Android 11 official release. We are already in a mature beta phases of the Android 11, which is available on Pixel devices, with a majority of iOS and iPadOS 13 running on most of the smartphones, but still iOS 14, and I will touch on that soon, is in the third beta, public beta, a month away from its being GA on additional new platforms, new iPhone 12 series of devices. So the diversity of these devices, iOS and Android, didn't change obviously over the past few months. So keeping up with these new models, new operating systems that sometimes are even being updated on a monthly basis require continuous testing, require the test automation that most of you responded that is an implication or a challenge. And Android, specifically with the 6 different operating system families, requires even more attention. The attention to Android relies on the fact that comparing to iOS, which just runs on a stock OS, which Apple is releasing and controlling, Android obviously has a much more diverse market with so many OEMs like Samsung, Google, Huawei, LG, and others, which takes the Android stock operating system and build their own unique custom OS. And you can see here that even if you're testing on a Pixel device on Android 10, it's really going to be a different flavor when you're running it on Samsung Note 9. It's simply a different binary that you want to test on. This is why Android, from that perspective, for the past few years and also going forward, requires even more coverage considerations. And in today's reality, when you are testing from remote, getting access to all these different permutations in a physical office remotely, it's almost impossible. You need someone to maintain these devices for you, to make sure that they are always on, always connected, always charged, always up to date with the latest operating system version, and so on. Doing it from remote, it's simply not safe. sometimes technically impossible. And this is some of the challenges that we are facing in today's reality, and probably going to face it at least until the end of this year, if not towards 2021. On a browser perspective, nothing really dramatic, but still the fragmentation on the web landscape is still exists with the four major browsers, but we also need to look at the Safari 14, which is already in a beta phase, which going to be replacing in a month or so the current Safari version on a different Mac OS. So I think that, in the same level as I presented the previous slide, you want, as part of your responsive or progressive web application testing or just web testing, to pay attention and to make sure that you are really looking into the different trends of web application adoption, web browser adoption. And what we have seen is that it takes much shorter time for users to get the latest Chrome updated on their desktops compared to Firefox. You can see that the latest Firefox is really lagging behind, and it takes time for the users to really update the Firefox, which is being released on a monthly basis. So there are different trends that we see across different browser OS versions comparing to the mobile space. And again, from a digital coverage perspective, you want to take care and be on top of that. So you really test on the latest and greatest and what your end users are obviously consuming. And still here, maintaining such a Selenium grid or a desktop web VMs across the different operating systems, Windows, Mac OS, and Linux, takes a lot of IT bandwidth, and especially from remote, getting the service to your hands as testers, it's becoming almost impossible. We hear it from many of our clients. If that's not enough, what we are going to see, and this is why, again, moving to the cloud is becoming a reality today. We are starting to see additional disruptions coming towards us. I mentioned earlier, next month release of Apple iOS 14, Android 11, which is coming soon as well. A new Appium version is coming. Selenium 4 is in its late, I would say, early access towards a beta version. All the iPhone 12 series is expected to be launched in October. And we see all the other trends of progressive web, foldable smartphones. All of these things still apply to our digital reality, because if you have a mobile native application, or if you have a responsive web application, responsive website, all of the things that I mentioned here on the website, on the slide, are going to impact and are still actually today impacting your testing activities, whether these are manual testing or test automation, because your scripts are going to be impacted on Appium and Selenium. Your testing plans will be impacted by a new iOS and Android version. Same goes for a new form factor like a foldable smartphone. So the digital landscape isn't slowing down. It's becoming even more complex, and having the right tools, the right testing strategies in front of you are key for keeping up with everything that is going on, because your developers aren't standing still as well. They're also moving from one story point to the next and adding, unfortunately, new defects to your pipeline. Let's also take into account, especially in today's reality, digital is not a location agnostic. It's a location agnostic reality, meaning your end users are using your platforms, whether it's in the West Coast in the US, the East Coast, EMEA, APAC, all over the world. So from a network conditions and environment conditions perspective, whether it's 4G, 5G, Wi-Fi, different languages, different pop-ups, security alerts, and stuff like that, push notifications, you need to also bundle and bake all of this. If you didn't care about environment conditions before, the COVID-19, in today's reality, where everyone is connected even more than before and consuming your digital content from remote, you need to take care and bake into your testing activities all of these environment conditions, competing background applications, network conditions, different screen sizes and resolutions, different devices that are suddenly starting to pop up in your Google Analytics or other analytics systems because you're getting more exposure, you're getting more traffic and usage from digital than ever before. So this is also something to consider, and baking or setting up such digital environments on your own on premise in today's reality is very hard. It's quite expensive. Cloud solutions, and I will demonstrate towards the end of the webinar, cloud solution gives you all these different conditions as a given, settings or configuration on top of your web or mobile platform, making this kind of a seamless environment settings. So the majority in this webinar commented that test automation is a challenge and is kind of one of the most impactful area due to the remote digital reality. So I anticipated this response, and therefore you see this slide. These are the collection of test automation challenges in our landscape today. I'm hearing most of these day in and day out, either from prospects or in different communities where I'm actively, reacting and sharing some of the content. So we see the mix of automation skill set. The users today are sometimes lacking the skill set to create robust test automation that really works, that really gives the value and matches the timeline that is required per each sprint. In addition, testing is still in many of the organizations done separately in a different silo, in a different team, and the lack of this communication or synchronization between dev and test, which is kind of an old news for the past decade, is still happening. And today, when you do not have this face-to-face interface, it's even harder to accommodate a sync or a channel between QA and dev, making test automation even harder, especially if you do not design your application for testability, like I'm mentioning here, or if you're not really providing too much of a detailed description of the feature for the test automation engineer to design his test cases. Some of the frameworks and tools that are being selected not always matches the requirements, making the advanced automation scenarios development quite hard on the test engineers. Time spent on analyzing test results takes too much time. As you're doing continuous testing, you're generating a lot of test data, making the time spent too long for organizations to react to changes. So if you do not have the ability to slice and dice test data, you are very late to provide feedback back to the developer. And there are other challenges here. Majority of these challenges, or a mix of them, obviously causes escape defects to production, and this is one of the things that we obviously want to avoid, especially today. I do hope that you guys online relate to these things, and I will try to provide some answers, some best practices in this webinar to avoid or to accommodate some of these. I can definitely tell you, and this is the title of this webinar, that using a cloud solution obviously breaks the bridge between different silos, because you have one single pane of glass that is shareable and providing the same view regardless of your role. If you're a developer, a test manager, a QA engineer, or a product manager, you go to the cloud, you see everything. You see all the testing activities, all the test framework that were executing test cases for you, all the platforms that are either error prone or good to go with, etc. So cloud does facilitate a cross-team collaboration and allows all of these challenges to become less painful to the users. So one of the benefits of moving to the cloud is making things more fast, because as a developer or test engineer, moving to the cloud reduces the pains of building and setting up environments. I've showed you the digital reality, the digital landscape of operating a lab that requires you to maintain mobile devices, Android and iOS, desktop virtual machines when a new Safari, a new Chrome, a new Firefox on a new Windows OS is being released. Making sure that your lab is up to date takes a lot of energy and costs you money. When you use the cloud, you're able to offload a lot of these environmental setup and headaches and focus on shifting your test left, getting faster feedback, getting more test automation scripted and done for the build that you want to validate, and obviously eliminate escape defects by doing so. So this is, in my mind, one of the key benefits. Cloud will allow you or allows you to do more in a given time, implement shift left practices for your testing by both developers and testers. Again, this is a shareable environment. Cloud is not on your own desktop. It's available for everyone from anywhere in the world, making it really agnostic and seamless to consume all the data, execute test cases, review dashboards, and come up with decisions. To make sure that you are really making the most out of your continuous testing, this is, I would say, kind of a complex slide, but it gives you more than what you need. So you can pick and choose how you measure today's reality for your continuous testing and test automation activities, and how you can improve or where you want to improve. So if you look at few of these metrics, and these metrics are part of best practices that I've collected. Some of them were featured in my second book, Continuous Testing for DevOps Professionals, based on real end user experiences, looking at what you care about. Okay, if you care about the testing types that are automated, make sure that you get all these metrics. You know, what is the current state and where you want to move forward from a future or desired state perspective. How much time it takes you to create and execute a given test scenario. Is it a tedious work? Is it a test case that takes you 5 to 7 or even more minutes to run, which is kind of a bad practice? You want to have test cases, especially for fast feedback, running around 2 to 3 minutes. So you're not really depending on too much environmental stuff. You just validate what you need to validate, get the feedback, and move forward to the next step. Longer test cases in today's continuous testing, agenda are a bad practice. And you need to know, you need to measure, you need to know how much time it takes you to do the testing today. And oh, by the way, when you are looking at a cloud solution, executing in parallel, at scale, in burst mode and stuff like that, which cloud solutions facilitates, allows you, think about 1,000 test cases running on 10 virtual machines or 1,000 virtual machines. Obviously, you can consume everything and do it much faster, but you need to understand if that's a bottleneck for you today or not. And by measuring it, obviously, you will know. So there are other, I would say, categories here for metrics and measurements. I divided them into these 5-6 categories, so you can pick and choose from each category what you care mostly about and start measuring it, and put, I would say, aggressive goals for you to mature your continuous testing, in the next quarter or the following one, from both coverage perspective, pipeline health, tools matching. If some of the things that you will measure on the left side of the slide will show negative numbers or too heavy numbers, it might mean that you're not really using the right test automation frameworks or tools for your teams. So fixing one can also lead to improvements on the next. So I think this is a very good slide for you to take from this webinar, and you can actually match prior to using a cloud, prior to using a specific test framework, and also after. The before and after will definitely give you some value here. From what I've discussed with many of the Perfecto Cloud users, customers, we have learned the following 8, I would say, benefits. These are the things that our clients mostly are suffering or looking at the cloud to solve for them. So Our clients in today's reality are finding it hard to keep up with platform upgrades. By moving to the cloud, getting immediate access to the latest, iOS 14, Android 11, latest Chrome, and stuff like that gives them the ability to continuously operate and move forward and validate new builds, new features. Okay, so this is one challenge that the cloud solves to our clients. Second, having the always on, always available 24/7, and I will show you in a short demo, accessing your environment, your testing environment from a single click in a browser in today's reality means a lot to your productivity, and this is what the cloud enables. Security, especially when you are working from remote and all of your asset backend services that you are communicating with are sitting, in your office, and you are working from home, making sure that you are operating through a VPN channel, secure environment, obviously reduces the pain, reduces the headache and vulnerability of your daily testing. And this is again another cloud benefit. Unlimited test automation scalability. I mentioned earlier, as you can scale up and down your parallel test execution, allows you to control the velocity and how much you can actually include in a given sprint. I think I have a slide later on in this presentation about a good practiced pipeline, and over there you might see that there is kind of testing windows of 10 minutes build acceptance testing. This is the window. So if you do not have the ability to mark your pull request after 10 minutes of validation, your pull request doesn't get in. Okay, it's not being merged into the pipeline, and it needs to wait for the next merge. Okay, this is as simple as that. So scaling your automation and getting fast feedback through automation means a lot today, and the cloud gives you again this benefit. Productivity anywhere, global coverage, again for business continuity, comes together with the other benefits that I mentioned, but still you are more productive when you're using the cloud because you do not care about setting the environment up and down, making sure that it's always connected and charged and stuff like that. You get it as a given. That's part of the cloud benefits. Okay. It's even more cost effective because you do not need to have someone sitting in the office, of you guys sitting in the office. Some of them might be your test engineers, instead of them maintaining a lab locally, which sometimes today is even forbidden. You get it as a service, and your test engineers get their time back to do more test automation, exploratory testing for discovering of bug, and so forth. Obviously, the cross collaboration between teams and the disaster recovery are few things that the cloud gives you in addition to all the others that I mentioned. So to summarize, these are the top 8 things that I've been gathering over the past 6 to 8 months, working with my clients, new ones and existing ones, making sure that these are the great benefits of them using a cloud solution for their continuous testing. So if you're not using a cloud today, or if you are suffering from a subset or all of these bullets, the cloud is definitely a solution for you. Going back to the previous slide, that's just a screenshot from the Perfecto cloud that I will show you. But what you can see here, especially if you have, let's say, a responsive or progressive web, which you need to test on real and virtual devices as well as desktop browsers, with the cloud, you get access to all of them in a single window, in a single view from one desktop machine, without the need to set up and update and maintain all of these. So this is a huge benefit. I will soon show you the demo, so I don't want to focus or spend time on this slide. What is important with the cloud, and I didn't mention it earlier, is I mentioned it as a pain, but I didn't mention it in the cloud benefits, and I probably should have, is the ability to diverse your engineers to work with different technologies, okay? Different test automation frameworks, different CI/CD tools, different IDEs, okay? Different reporting environments and stuff like that. When you're working with a cloud, and I will show you again in the demo, specifically with Perfecto, we integrate with so many of these technologies. This is just a subset. So whether you are a protractor JavaScript developer, WebDriver IO, or Selenium for web, or if you are using Appium or XCUI test or Espresso, and if you are using it from Android Studio or IntelliJ or Eclipse, the cloud is agnostic to your technologies, meaning you can have as many engineers as you like in your organization, and they can pick and choose the technology that makes sense to their objectives, their job that needs to be done, but the cloud will agnostically facilitate this operation for them. And can be Jenkins, can be Bitrise, can be other solutions, Apply tools, which perfectly integrates with Perfecto for visual testing, and many others. So I think this is a great benefit of using the cloud, because it kind of breaks the barriers that I mentioned earlier in this presentation between developers, test engineers, SDETs, business testers, whatever name that you have. This cloud really breaks all the bridges and barriers and facilitates cross-team collaboration across different technologies, giving you the freedom to work with what you care mostly about in a single environment. This is something that I drafted over the past few weeks, because from my experience working with so many different engineers, whether they are developers, SDETs, or business testers, what I've learned is that there is obviously no one size that fits all. Whether you're developing a native mobile application or you're developing a responsive web application or a desktop application, I've learned that each of these engineers, the dev, the SDET, and the business testers, are coming obviously from different places, different objectives, with different skill sets and different places within the pipeline. Well, this is kind of a straightforward statement. If you look at the technology stack that is available in a given enterprise today, you will see that it's kind of a mess, and there is no real division between the developers, the testers, and the tools that they are using. So what I've created here is kind of a matching guideline or matching best practice for these different practitioners. And if there is an additional practitioner that either falls in between these, or maybe sits on top of that, like a DevOps engineer or something like that, we might need to even expand this graph. But I wanted to focus just on the continuous testing story. And what the developers would mostly focus on is getting fast feedback, accelerating the feedback at the maximum speed that is possible, just because, again, these guys have 10 minutes, 20 minutes a day to pull or push changes to their code and get back the feedback to get approval to merge the code to the main repository. These guys will typically use, again, fast frameworks such as Espresso, XCUI test, or Cypress. When you look at the SDETs, these are the test automation engineers that are doing end-to-end testing, integration testing, functional and performance testing. These guys care mostly about the coverage. Okay, how much of the test cases I can automate and include within the build, within the cycle, to get the maximum value back to my developers and my management. This is why these guys will use Selenium, WebDriver IO, Appium, and other frameworks in that regards, because these are frameworks that really maximizes your test automation scenario coverage. You can do end-to-end testing across multiple platforms and so on. When you go to the business testers, these are usually manual testers that do not really have good coding skills. These guys want to, again, be considered part of the cycle, and manual testing is way too tedious and time consuming. So leveraging tools such as Quantum, which is a BDD framework, Tricentis Tosca, or the Testcraft codeless solution that is based on Selenium, can give the business tester an edge and kind of a leap forward to use I would say, technical tools like Selenium and Appium, but still create automation that is quite robust in a short amount of time. The bottom line here in this slide is that you need to have, as part of your continuous testing strategy, again, with the cloud, without the cloud, you do want to have a good facilitation, a good technology stack that really addresses these different objectives, different technology and different skill set that you have within the organization. While succeeding in that, you will be in a very good place to implement agility, continuous testing, and DevOps. In addition, and everything that I've spoken earlier requires, I would say a double click on the security of everything that you're doing. Testing on a pre-production environment, let's say on a mobile application which is built with a developer certificate and it's not really ready for production, still has some pre-production data, accessing backend services, needs to be tested. Especially if you're doing testing from home today, there is no guarantee for your security. When you are looking at a cloud, you are looking at global data coverage, data center coverage, which is always on, but also a cloud that gives you full security from a Cloud Security Alliance certification, HIPAA, and other types of securities that allows you to really continuously test without worrying about the security of the data that you are using. This is just, if you don't want to take my word for it, this is just a snippet taken, I would say, 4 to 5 months ago from some of the Perfecto customer database, not from all of it. But what you have seen from a mobile standpoint, before moving to the cloud and after moving to the cloud, you can see the consistent App Store ratings that is significantly higher than before and continuously maintaining its rating. But definitely there is no single customer that hasn't shown an App Store rating improvement, and that's just on mobile, and that's just on the App Store ratings. I have other KPIs and metrics. If some of you are interested, I can share around test automation coverage growth, how much test automation was increased by moving to the cloud, how many successful builds, how many test flakiness were reduced by moving to the cloud and using a secure and diverse solution like Perfecto. We have the KPIs, so if some of you online are interested, I'm really happy to share them with you. But this is just one aspect of moving to the cloud and doing continuous testing in the cloud. For some reason, I'm not able to click on the next slide. Let's see. Oh, I think I clicked too fast. Okay. So with that previous slide, I would like to jump and do a short demo for you, showing you that everything that I've just spoken about is really, really a reality. So I will be sharing my screen right now. Okay, so you should be able to, 1 second. Okay, you should be able to see my screen right now, and you should be able to see the Perfecto Cloud solution. As I mentioned earlier, we're talking here about cross-team collaboration. So starting from the account setup, this is a given cloud. You can see in the cloud that you have a repository management feature. So if you want from remote, when you're working from home, to share a specific asset, can be an image that you want for your check deposit testing activities, a new build like an APK or an IPA for your Android and iOS testing, okay? Anything that is related to testing resources can be uploaded and managed and maintained either in a public or a private repository, so all of your other testers and team members can use and also download based on, again, permissions that are enforced in the cloud. In addition, you can also reserve specific devices throughout the day or the week. So if you know that you have an heavy cycle to perform next day or 2 days from now or next week, you can actually do reservation for given platforms and make sure that they are always available. So when you are launching a build acceptance testing through your CI on a given schedule, all of these platforms will be available for you. In addition, as part of the reporting feature, you can actually either use pre-configured failure reasons. We have a machine learning implemented in the cloud. So if something failed for you, our machine learning algorithm will identify automatically for you what was the root cause, why the test case failed from this list. If you have your own unique options or failure reasons, you can add them to your unique private cloud, and you would utilize them upon each execution. But this is also an additional benefit. It's also connected to Jira, not just Jenkins for CI. So if you have, if you're using Jira today, the cloud, the platform can be connected to Jira for defect management and many other capabilities. The cloud itself allows you to do both manual testing as well as test automation. Before moving to the test analysis, I will just show you how easy it is for you to obtain access to the mobile platforms. All of these devices are real devices, real live in the cloud across different regions or geographies. You can sort by operating system, device model, the ones that have a SIM card or are connected to audio. If you have Siri and other test cases that you want to validate, you can filter and search just these devices. I can search here by, let's say, an iPhone, and it will just filter all of my list of devices by simply clicking on this, let's say, iPhone 11 Pro. Immediately, I will get access to this device. Same goes from Android. If I want to open a new Android device, like a Pixel 4, I click on that, and the device is being loaded. Both devices are loaded in parallel. And if it's not sufficient, and if I have a responsive web, I can actually also load a new Windows machine, like Windows 10 with Chrome 84, which is in the US, and I can open the virtual machine right now. After a few seconds, you will get access to a new desktop virtual machine, and you can test on it. Okay, and you can do browsing, you can do manual testing, exploratory testing, use the developer tools on this platform like F12, and do anything that you can do across different web permutations. Okay, so that's for the web. I can take a screenshot if I care about reporting a bug and then download it. Everything here is given to you as a cloud solution, as a service. You do not need to ask any IT manager to set up any VM, which takes time and money. For the mobile perspective, this is a real smartphone. This is a real Pixel device. You can see it here running Android 10 that you can call. It's based in Toronto. You can install your new application or launch an application that is already running on this device. Can be, I don't know, Google Docs. Okay, and I will launch the application and start testing on that. I can actually also mimic a different location. This device is in Canada, but I can actually move it to Austin, Texas. So now the device actually mimics a different location, and this is it took me just few seconds to mimic this network condition, going back to my network condition settings. I can actually even go one step deeper and design or define a 4G LTE pool connection on this device and set it as the network condition. Do the same thing with vitals, collect memory usage and stuff like that. Collect logs, okay? Logs from the device, connect it to my local IDE. The capabilities here goes on and on. I can rotate the device from landscape to portrait and stuff like that. The bottom line here is that whatever you can do on a real device or real browser, you can do in the cloud in seconds from anywhere in the world, in your couch or from remote, and it gives you the flexibility you need to do both manual testing as well as web application testing. Once you're done with the testing, I will close this VM and device. I just want, before I'm done with the demo, I just want to show you one of the powerful things that you get within the Perfecto Cloud, and this is the reporting. So I talked earlier when especially when working in from remote in today's reality, you are collecting a lot of test data coming from developers and SDETs and different applications, builds, and stuff like that. In the Perfecto Cloud, you get everything as a single pane of glass. You can see here that the build is now running in our cloud. You are on top of everything as an admin of the cloud. You see all the different jobs, builds, how many test cases passed and failed. You can see the duration of these CI builds over time. You can see the trending. You can also see the live stream. If something was running right now from the IDE or CI, you would have seen it in the live stream. In addition, and it's also important, you can see the heat map. Okay, this is just for the day. I can actually go 3 months back, until I would say May 19th, and you will see pretty soon the aggregation of everything that happened over the past quarter in this cloud, highlighting to you only what you care mostly about, or you can actually slice and dice what you care mostly about. You can focus only on the red, on the failures, or you can focus only on the blocked test cases that from some reason are not running properly and might hide and escape defects for you. But looking at the scale here, looking at the thousands of test cases that you can immediately watch as a heat map, in a heat map like an admin, gives you great knowledge, great data to drive decision-making information. And this is, again, looking from an executive level perspective. While this got loaded, you can see that over the past quarter, almost 1 million test cases, 823,000 test cases were executed in this specific cloud. You can see the devices that are more error prone, the ones that are failing, and you can actually highlight only the failures and start examining why they are failing. You can click on this and you can see the report if it was generated, and stuff like that. You can go to the report library and drill down into a specific test execution. You can go to, find a given test. You can go to this specific test execution. You can see here all the test cases. So let's say you are the QA manager and you want to examine what your end user was doing. You can go back to the cloud. You can see all the screenshots, all the logs, everything that happened in the test execution, including the video. Okay, and you can download the reports. You can download the full report, the assertion report, the video itself, and either report it as a Jira issue. In this case, the test passed. But if it failed, you could have reported it via Jira back to the developers. So to summarize here, you get with the cloud solution the ability to execute manual test cases, test automation across mobile, web, in different geographies, in different locations, set up different environment conditions like location, portrait, landscape, network virtualization, and also slice and dice all the test data at a higher scale, regardless of the origin of the test execution. And this is a powerful benefit of working with the cloud. With that, I'd like to end the demo and also leave the few minutes that are left for Q&A. But as you have seen in the demo, when you're looking at a continuous testing solution, especially in today's reality, you want to make sure that you are providing a best fit solution to your clients from the creation phase through the execution and lab up until the analysis, because all the left pillars, if you like, are the areas where developers and test engineers are spending time and money, but when you are realizing value, it's only in the analysis. In these dashboards that I've shown you, where you see 800 test cases, this is whether you're getting value from the investment or you are losing value and money out of the investment. So you really need to have, especially in today's continuous testing reality, a good analysis solution, a good reporting that gives you feedback, root cause analysis, and understanding of whether you are getting value or not. With that, I'd like to leave time, if there are questions, I would like to leave time for the questions. And I can see a few of the questions right now. But Sarah, if you want to help me navigate through them, I see one of the questions around, could you clarify why an SDET test automation is on the left side on test robustness axis? Sure. By the way, that's a good question, and it's a great challenge for me as well to address it, because SDETs are taking the majority of the load around test automation creation. However, SDETs, because they need to do end-to-end testing, functional performance and stuff like that, and they are using brittle test automation frameworks such as Selenium and Appium. Whether they're experts or no, we know that over time the test automation is getting broken by either new feature, new functionality, new screen, new element locator, and this is why the robustness of it's a matter of size. SDETs are creating more test cases. This is why the robustness of the suite is smaller compared to developers that are doing simple test cases, unit test cases, using more robust frameworks such as Espresso and XUI test, which are an underlay or a subset of Appium, for example, meaning Appium may cause some limitations where the users that are using the native framework such as Espresso and XUI test wouldn't experience. So it's a matter of scale and the frameworks and technologies that these different personas are using that implies on the robustness of the test cases. I see another question that someone is asking if the platform, the Perfecto platform, is similar to Browserstack. So it's similar but different. As I mentioned in the demo, Perfecto is also a cloud solution for both web and mobile, supporting all the different frameworks, open source frameworks such as Selenium, Appium, and stuff like that. But Perfecto is a private cloud and not just a public cloud. Public cloud vendor. Browserstack is mostly a public cloud solution, which means that someone is using the system, it gets cleaned after the execution for the next user to use it, which is kind of inefficient when you're doing continuous delivery and continuous testing. Perfecto provides all of this in a private cloud dedicated to a given client, which means that you can leave the execution and get back to it whenever you want, because it's a dedicated environment, fully secured just for your usage. And also, I mentioned earlier and I demonstrated our ability to provide very mature dashboards and reporting, which, by the way, none of the other cloud vendors are providing today. So I hope I answered that, but if you want, I can take it offline and provide some more information on that question. Another question, someone was asking brief on parallel execution. So I don't know what is the question, but I can definitely relate the parallel execution to the cloud, okay? And obviously, when you are doing local testing from your, let's say, IntelliJ IDE, and you are using a data provider such as TestNG, okay? You can use the thread count of it, obviously, but you need to have these threads, these platforms available for you to spin up at scale and from your environment. Doing it locally, you're very much limited. When you are using a cloud solution like, let's say, Perfecto, you have seen how many environments we support. Actually, for web, it's endless. Also for mobile, by the way, but let's just focus for now on the web. So spinning up thousands of Chrome virtual machines to run your, let's say, 10,000 test cases is not an issue in a cloud solution. Doing it locally, obviously, is impossible, and this is the time trade-off that you're either losing or winning, depending on whether you are moving to the cloud or not. So I hope I answered this. If not, I'm happy to take the question offline. That was my understanding of the question. Another question was, does Perfecto support visual testing? So yes, Perfecto supports visual testing both for manual and automated testing within our native solution, as well as through integrations such as the one we have with Applitools. So it's a short answer and a short question. The answer is yes. A lot of questions, so thank you for the engagement. I really like that. Another question that came in, based on your experience, what is better, Selenium or WebDriver IO? So I get these types of questions a lot, and one of the other questions that people would ask me today, what is better, Appium or Flutter, or Selenium or Cypress.io? My answer will always be, it depends on what you're trying to automate. What is the application technology built on? What is the language that you are skilled with, whether it's JavaScript or Python or different things? Selenium is the underlying infrastructure and technology for most of the WebDriver frameworks, whether it's Protractor, which is fading away, as well as WebDriver IO. So when you're using WebDriver IO, actually you're also using Selenium underneath, but you get some additional abilities to work with different objects that Selenium sometimes is limited. So depending on the application type, whether it's Angular or not, I can tell you that it's a matter of technology and skill set, but both are really strong frameworks. And when you use Perfecto, we support WebDriver IO 5 or Selenium, so it's agnostic. It just needs to match your test automation scenario coverage and requirements. Let's see if there are any other questions and if you still have time for more questions. I'm scanning. I think I addressed most of the important questions for this webinar, guys. So if I missed anyone, if I missed any questions, I am available to address them either through email or social or through the TechWell host that made this great webinar available to you. So with that, I think Sarah and the staff team, I think we can wrap up today's webinar and thank all of you for attending.
Very good. This concludes our event for today. I'd like to personally thank Eran for his time and Perfecto by Perforce for sponsoring this web seminar. And also a special thank you out to all of our attendees today for spending the last hour with us. We hope to see you at a future event. Have a great day.
Thank you.